Welcome back to Collected Maximalism, where we study the art of layered interiors and create spaces that hold presence. Hollywood Regency meets Milan, inside the art of glamorous interiors. When a room becomes a mood, there are interiors that are designed simply to be lived in. And then there are interiors designed to create a mood. Rooms where entering feels almost cinematic. Where polished surfaces catch the light, velvet adds depth, art fills the walls, and an ordinary evening somehow feels like an occasion. This is the world of Hollywood Regency. But imagine that glamour leaving California and arriving in Milan, moving into an old European apartment, surrounded by parquet floors, classical architecture, Italian furniture, contemporary art, and objects collected over a lifetime. The result is something richer, more layered, and perhaps even more seductive. So what happens when the theatrical glamour of Hollywood Regency meets the cultivated elegance of Milan? Here are 7 ideas that define this extraordinary combination. 1. Glamour begins with atmosphere. Hollywood Regency was born from fantasy. During Hollywood's golden age, film sets created extraordinary worlds for the screen, and that theatrical sensibility soon entered private homes. The idea was never simply to display wealth. It was to create atmosphere. Rooms became stages for living. Furniture could be sculptural. Mirrors multiplied light. Lacquer brought extraordinary depth to walls and cabinetry. Brass and polished metals added flashes of glamour, while velvet, silk, marble, and glass made interiors feel tactile and luxurious. But glamour wasn't about adding everything at once. It was about understanding which moments deserved drama. A remarkable lamp. A sweeping sofa. A glossy wall. An oversized work of art. One strong gesture could change the entire personality of a room. Two. The Milanese art of mixing eras. Hollywood Regency was never afraid of contrast. A classical bust might sit beside a modern lamp. A sleek cocktail table could appear beneath an 18th century portrait. Lacquer, chinoiserie, chrome, and antique furniture might somehow coexist. The magic came from the tension between them. That same confidence feels completely natural in Milan. The great Milanese interior rarely looks as though everything arrived on the same day. Architecture may come from one century, furniture from another, and art from several different worlds. Ornate ceilings can hover above radical modern furniture. Terrazzo can sit beneath velvet. An antique cabinet can stand beside an unapologetically contemporary light. Nothing needs to match perfectly. It needs to converse. Three. Color creates the architecture. Both Hollywood Regency and Milanese interiors understand something that restrained decorating sometimes forgets. Elegance does not have to mean beige. A sophisticated room can be intensely colorful. Deep navy, chocolate, burgundy, tobacco, and green can completely change the emotional temperature of a space. Against these colors, art appears brighter. Metal glows. Cream upholstery becomes almost luminous. Even plants become architectural. And the most interesting rooms rarely depend on one perfect palette. They depend on relationships. A dark wall against pale stone. Burgundy beside green. Blue against warm timber. A flash of yellow in an otherwise serious room. Color isn't simply decoration here. It helps create the architecture of the room. 4. Contrast is the real luxury. Perhaps the greatest lesson in these interiors is that luxury is often created through contrast rather than expense. Something polished beside something aged. Something precious beside something humble. A formal marble surface softened by books. A glamorous velvet sofa surrounded by enormous plants. An antique portrait above furniture that could have been designed yesterday. These contradictions prevent a room from becoming predictable. Without them, glamour can quickly become too perfect. Milan brings a little intellectual disorder to Hollywood Regency, and that is precisely what makes the combination so interesting. The room can be elegant without becoming precious. Five. Art makes the home personal. In this kind of interior, art isn't the final decorative layer added after the furniture has been arranged. It is part of the architecture. Pictures climb walls. Frames differ in size and period. Paintings coexist with photography, drawings, sculpture, and objects whose origins may not immediately be obvious. Books accumulate. Ceramics appear on shelves. A strange object discovered while traveling finds its place beside something inherited decades earlier. And slowly, the home begins to resemble the person who lives there rather than the designer who decorated it. That distinction matters. Because the most compelling glamorous interiors never feel newly completed. They feel collected. Six. Lighting changes everything. Hollywood Regency has always understood the seductive power of artificial light. Lamps are not merely practical objects. They are jewelry for the room. A brass pendant hovering above a table, a pair of sconces illuminating a dark wall, or a sculptural lamp glowing beside a sofa can completely change a space after sunset. Milan adds another dimension: natural light. Tall windows, balconies, and generous proportions allow daylight to move across polished floors, marble, glass, and lacquer. The room changes throughout the day. Morning feels architectural. Afternoon reveals texture. And evening belongs to the lamps. That transformation is part of the glamour. Seven. Design for a more beautiful way of living. Ultimately, the furniture and decoration are only part of the story. What matters is how the room encourages you to live. Curved sofas change the social character of a space. Chairs turn toward one another. Tables become places around which people gather rather than objects pushed against walls. Dining can feel like an event. Reading can have its own corner. A drink in the evening deserves a wonderful lamp. A bedroom can feel like a private sanctuary. Even a bathroom can contain enough material, color, and atmosphere to become a retreat. There is pleasure in giving ordinary rituals a sense of ceremony. And that, more than mirrors, velvet or lacquer, may be the real legacy of Hollywood Regency. It made everyday life feel cinematic. when Hollywood meets Milan. Milanese style brings Hollywood fantasy back down to earth. It adds history, intelligence, imperfection, and the feeling that a home can evolve over decades. Together, the two create interiors that resist easy categorization. Old but modern. Elegant but eccentric. Luxurious but personal. Disciplined, yet wonderfully theatrical. And perhaps that is why these rooms feel so compelling today. After years of interiors dominated by safe neutrals and perfect minimalism, there is something irresistible about spaces willing to reveal personality. A home does not have to whisper in order to be sophisticated. Sometimes it can wear velvet, hang art from floor to ceiling, place an enormous tree beside a marble table, turn the walls an unexpected color, and still feel completely timeless. Because true glamour has never really been about decoration. It is about atmosphere. It is about creating a world within four walls. And when the cinematic confidence of Hollywood Regency meets the cultivated eclecticism of Milan, the home becomes more than beautiful. It becomes unforgettable.